The Battle of Kursk 2024. A quick assessment of what we know about the surprise Ukrainian assault into Russia and what might be Ukraine's strategic and operational objectives. The aim is to shock an adversary and overwhelm them when they are their weakest or when they least expect it. That shock and the breakdown in enemy cohesion and ability to effectively respond can then be used to seize large amounts of ground and destroy significant enemy formations. It appears that yet again, in the past few days, the Ukrainians have surprised Russia and observers in the West with their latest operation. The 21st century Battle of Kursk begins. Despite our ability to only see a small part of what is occurring in Kursk, there are several aspects of this new Ukrainian operation which are apparent. First, this is a multi-brigade operation. At least 2 Ukrainian brigades have been identified so far, the 22nd Mechanized Brigade and the 82nd Air Assault Brigade. These are both quality formations. This already appears to be paying dividends with the depth of the Ukrainian penetration so far. Second, the Ukrainians have attacked with a highly mobile, mechanized force. A high level of mobility is essential to creating or exploiting gaps in enemy defenses, and rapidly exploiting such gaps, speed and shock action are vital. Third, the Ukrainians appear to have deployed a significant amount of air defense capability. At least 1 Russian fighter aircraft and 2 helicopters have been claimed to have been shot down by the Ukrainians. Fourth, the Ukrainians have penetrated a good distance into Russia. The map shows the currently estimated penetration of Ukrainian forces in Russia on at least 2 axes of advance, main and supporting efforts are unclear. Fifth, Ukraine has achieved surprise. More importantly, the Ukrainian cross-border attack shows that surprise is still possible, and that offensive operations are also possible despite the prevalence of the defense in the past year. Ukraine's objectives. There are a couple of possible operational objectives for this Ukrainian attack. First, Ukraine may be seeking to draw Russian forces away from its attacks on the New York and its advances on Torezk and Pokrovsk. This might be possible, but given Russia's advantage in manpower, one would have to assess that this outcome is probably unlikely. Another operational objective, which is more likely to be realized, is to force the Russians to reconsider their force dispositions elsewhere on the front line. Finally, Ukraine may have some specific operational objectives in mind, which are related to the ground itself. The Kursk nuclear power station may be one objective, but that is speculative and still lies 60 kilometers, 37 miles from the border with Ukraine, well beyond where Ukraine is currently thought to be operating. Key road and railway lines might also be interrupted. Ultimately, threatening the city of Kursk itself could be an objective for the operation, but that would be a stretch goal. The strategic objectives of this attack can only be estimated at this early stage. First, the attack might be an attempt to slow or kill Russian momentum in its offensives, which have lasted for the duration of 2024. A second strategic objective might be to shift the narrative on the war to one more positive for Ukraine and counter Russian misinformation about their inevitable victory in Ukraine. A third strategic objective may be to boost morale in the Ukrainian population. A fourth strategic objective for Ukraine might be to do what the Russians are doing in eastern Ukraine at the moment. Grab as much territory as possible, in case Ukraine is forced into some kind of negotiated settlement at the end of 2024 or in early 2025. Negotiating with some of your enemy's territory is much better than negotiating without it. And while there are many issues related to any kind of ceasefire or negotiated settlement, who will enforce it? For example, Ukrainian strategists might believe that possessing Russian territory will provide them with better leverage if they are forced to the negotiating table in the short to medium term.